Here's the answer for day 4, problem 1. Factor the polynomial. Factoring is a two-step process. The first step of factoring is to see if there's a greatest common factor that can be divided out of both terms. The 3 and the 12 both divide by 3, so there is a greatest common factor of 3. Because this begins with a negative, we're also going to factor out a negative with our greatest common factor. There's also a letter A that will divide into both of these. So our GCF is negative 3a. Then make a set of parentheses that's long enough to fill in 2 terms because the original polynomial had 2 terms. To find the first term in here, you take negative 3a squared and divide it by negative 3a to see what that quotient is. Another way to think of it is to ask yourself a question. Negative 3a times what number makes negative 3a squared? And that missing number would be an a, because negative 3a times an a is negative 3a squared. Now we want to find this one here. 12a divided by negative 3a leaves what result? Another way to think of it is to ask yourself a question. Negative 3a times what makes 12a? You need to have a negative 4, because negative 3a times negative 4 makes positive 12a. This product is the factored form of this polynomial. Day 4, problem 2, we're going to factor this polynomial. Again, there's a two-step process. The first step is to see if there's a GCF. But this time, the only GCF is 1, and you don't have to factor out a GCF of 1. That doesn't accomplish anything. The second step of factoring is to see if the polynomial fits a special pattern that's been learned. In the chapter about factoring, there were several special patterns. This one does fit a pattern called a difference of squares. Here's how I know it fits that pattern. The first term is a perfect square. It's a perfect square because you can take the square root of it and get a nice result. The second term is also a perfect square because you can take the square root of it and get a nice result. As soon as you identify it's a difference of squares, then we know how to factor it. 2 sets of parentheses. What was the square root of n squared? It was n, and that is placed here and here. What was the square root of 64? It was 8, placed here and here. Now for that to turn out to be negative 64, you have to have a positive 8 times a negative 8. Here is the factored form of the original polynomial.